Hi, my name is Irene Graff, and I am going to review my proposed project for AI. This project is a global AI policy support tool. It's machine learning powered, a dashboard that tracks and summarizes global privacy, cybersecurity, and AI law. Uh, this is really to help businesses stay compliant. One of the big challenges with this area of law is that it's kind of a patchwork globally. Cybersecurity laws will refer to privacy issues. Privacy laws will refer to cybersecurity issues. And then you see AI peppered throughout all of this, as well as now we're seeing an emergence of digital identity law, which also points to privacy, cybersecurity, and AI. So it's very difficult for businesses to keep up on what's going on. And the volume of laws, cases, etc., is broad. And this particular tool could provide a lot of legal summaries, could also provide some alerts when new laws go into effect or new things are being proposed. Provide the references to official legal docs, because most legal, at least laws and statutes are, and proposed laws are often public documents. And then provide for legal tools and product design teams tools to be able to kind of like work on the business goals with this kind of an understanding of what's going on globally in terms of those legal areas. The user input is jurisdiction. Obviously, that's very important topic, right? So these all fall into categories. Not privacy is really about personal rights around your data. Security, there's a whole bunch of different aspects of security, identity, AI. So as we look at the data, we'll try to figure out what the right topic or feature items are, and it'll take some prototyping to figure that out, but hopefully we'll be able to come up with that and be able to also augment that over time as the law modifies. Legal status, because it's really important to understand when laws pass, when they're enacted, when they're just being proposed, whether they've been rescinded, or there's a precedent set above it. Cases that interpret the law, standards, and guidelines. So there are quite a few industry organizations that set out guidelines, and even though those are not legal standards, they do also influence a lot about what businesses do in that regard. And then a full list of document references, either in certain types of outputs, whether they're listed or links, etc. Companies struggle to track and interpret evolving global digital laws, and I think that most people who are in the technology space would agree with that. So our analysis is that legal language is complex, right? So that's why people spend a lot of time in law school. They learn how to write legal briefs in a particular way. They learn how to argue things in a particular way. And the law is cumulative. So essentially it stands on the shoulders of previous laws and the interpretation of those previous laws. So very complex. Legal research generally requires some sort of summarization. So, once you get a case or you get a statute, you have to summarize it or brief it so that you can understand what the implications are. A lot of legal tools that are out there have some sort of alert function, personalization function, search function that helps the legal researcher find what they're looking for in the masses of amount of information that are out there. And it just helps with relevance. And then trust is essential. So it's really important that we be transparent with the users in the summaries, where the material is coming from, where are the public documents that these summaries are referring to, so they can look them up. So this is kind of a mock-up of what it might look like. Oops. We would have an interface screen that allowed the user to enter in the types of things that they're looking for, the jurisdiction, that kind of topic, the type of law status they're looking for, maybe just all past laws that are still active, and then fetch summaries, right? And then based on the output, show, all the links of where those items are. And they're down below here, sort of an example of what that summary might be here. We're showing a summary of a HIPAA law where it talks about the act, when it was enacted, what the general rules are, what kinds of adaptations that have occurred to the act. So these summaries are super useful to legal teams and product design teams. Design considerations would be the inputs. So these we think will modify over time as we learn a little bit more the types of topics and the types of alerts that the users will want. But we can definitely start with a pretty solid set of topics that are commonly asked for. Transparency, obviously, we'd want to give some confidence scores. We definitely want to show all the sources. That's really important when you're dealing with the law. We also want to make sure they understand which resources are human generated, which ones are AI generated. So if we're getting statutes that are published by the actual governments, that's different than getting data or extrapolating data out of another Gen AI model. And then getting feedback from people that are using the tool, understanding how useful it is at any kind of correction, right, that might need to be made. Privacy considerations, pretty simple since this is a business tool. User login for saved history and alerts, query logs for improving search. But other than that, I don't think we need a lot of information about the people that are using the system. We need to know how they're using it and how successful they're using it, but we don't necessarily need to know anything about them personally outside of that they're a member of the company and they have an active login. Obviously, they're part of a corporation, so login would be implied consent. And we would want to make sure that we understood what jurisdictions these people were coming from and that made sure that we were storing data based on what the law requires. So when you're storing information about anybody or anything, there may be laws that require that. So even in the privacy space, we know that in China, personal data has to be stored geographically within China. Same thing for Brazil and Russia. Most of the BRIC countries are like that. Things that we need to think about ethically, bias from Western legal dominance. So Western countries, democratic countries tend to be publish all of their laws much more rigorously and their cases than more closed societies. There could be a misinterpretation of nuanced laws, so specific laws that really are very culturally significant could be misinterpreted. So that has to be considered. And then the prioritization of informal sources. So most of these people that are looking at this information are going to want to know what's formal, what's past, what's official versus what's informal. And that we are fair, that we are clear about data transparency, that we use human review for high-risk outputs to make sure that people are getting the right legal information and that we are transparent about our version history and our model disclosures, what kinds of changes we've made and what kinds of impacts the model will have as the users move along with it. Okay, so that is my proposed item. I am just in my last semester of law school and I could have really used something like this. I've actually used ChatGPT and Claude and a few other Gen A models to kind of help me build content like this for myself. But I could see how this could be very useful, especially with the kind of activity around privacy, cybersecurity, digital identity, and also AI laws. Thank you.